Kasi pag-usapan natin yung bagong file na na DQ case laban kay Bongbong. Gawin natin tong gawin natin tong systematic kasi ano eh, kalakalamay, guys, kalakalamay yung kwento. As in kalakalamay. Ibig sabihin, pag sinabi ko pong kalakalamay, halo-halo yung mga kwento. Alright. So gawin natin systematic i-fact check natin ng bahagya. So mag-share ako ngayon ng screen. Umpisahan natin doon sa isa sa mga pinaka-anti-Marcos na news outfits. Civic leaders seek to block Bongbong Marcos's candidacy for president. No. Alright. Himayin natin Open ko lang yung notepad ko para makapag-copy-paste ako ng mga relevant na parts. Notepad. Okay. Alright. So ngayon, sabi dito, Marcos is ineligible to run for public office. Lakihan ko yung sulat para mabasa ninyo. Marcos is not eligible to run for public office as he is plainly a convicted criminal. Yun yung first line. Alright, next line. Sabi dito, Marcos falsified his certificate of candidacy when he claimed he was eligible to be a candidate for President of the Philippines in the 2022 national elections when in fact, he is disqualified from doing so. Petitioners claim that Marcos is not eligible to run for any public office as he is plainly a convicted criminal, said the petitioners in a statement sent Tuesday night. Yung pangalawang claim. Alright, scroll down. They were referring to the 1997 conviction of Marcos for failure to pay income tax returns from 1982 to 1984 during the time he was vice governor and later governor of Ilocos Norte. Supposed ineligibility to run based on prior conviction is a ground for disqualification, which is another process with different requirements under Rule 25. The petition is framed this way. Marcos committed misrepresentation. Ito yung framing daw ng petition. So para i-disqualify siya ng COMELEC. Marcos committed misrepresentation. So nagsinungaling siya nung sinabi niya sa COC niya na eligible siya na tumakbo kahit na hindi siya eligible dahil daw sa conviction. Okay, next. The petition said that Marcos also misrepresented when he ticked the box, when he ticked the box of the COC section that asks if he has ever been liable for any offense which carries the accessory penalty of perpetual disqualification from public office. Alright? Okay. The 1997 Court of Appeals conviction did not impose any prison time. Alright guys, time out. Linawin ko muna sa inyo. Doon sa rules ng Omnibus Election Code, etc., there are two basic grounds as cited by Justice Carpio in his Inquirer column parang last week or 2 weeks ago. Sinabi ni Justice Carpio doon, there are two ways for you to get disqualified from running. The first is by final conviction, you've been sentenced to imprisonment for more than 18 months. Yun yung una. At ang pangalawa, if you have been if you've been convicted for a crime involving moral turpitude. Okay? So ulitin ko lang Una, pag na-convict ka for a crime, na-convict ka tapos final conviction, you final and executory at merong prison sentence na more than 18 months. So 1 year, 6 months plus 1 day. At saka number 2, if you've been convicted of a crime involving moral turpitude. Alright, now let's go back dun sa article ng Rappler. The 1997 Court of Appeals conviction did not impose any prison time, but merely imposed 30,000 pesos in fines. But the petitioners cite the 1985 Presidential Decree No. 1994, which amended the 1977 Tax Code upon which Marcos was convicted. Okay. So, makikita nyo guys, sa mismong article ng Rappler, sinasabi nila, walang imprisonment. Guys, di ba ang requirement doon sa disqualification either 1, may imprisonment na 18 months or more than 18 months, and number 2 ay yung moral turpitude. So, dito sa mismong article ng Rappler, wala na yung first part, yung imprisonment. Now, next, um, ang tanong ngayon dito is whether the crime involves moral turpitude. Ganun na lang basically yung question. Pa-share. Ngayon, the amended law said if the offender of the law is a public official, he shall be perpetually disqualified from holding any public office. The petition also made the argument that failure to file ITRs for multiple years is a crime of moral turpitude. The election code disqualifies a person who has been convicted of a crime of moral turpitude. Okay. Ang tanong dito guys, hindi well, pag, it has to be noted that the complaint was filed sa Commission on Elections. Hindi po sila ang nagde-decide on whether you committed a crime of moral turpitude. Hindi po yon. RTC, Court of Appeal, Supreme Court yan. Na hindi po yan tipong trip ng COMELEC moral turpitude ka o PAC, DQ. Hindi po wrong venue. Anyway, balik tayo lang muna. Himayin pa natin ang mas malalim ito mamaya. But COMELEC's Rule 23 says, a petition to deny due course or to cancel certificate of candidacy invoking grounds other than those stated above or grounds for disqualification or combining grounds for a separate remedy shall be summarily dismissed. Yada yada. A petition for disqualification can be filed. Deadma. Next, the petitioners were, so basically mga NGO, hayaan mo lang sila. Their lawyer is Ted Te, a human rights lawyer from Flag, okay? 1997 conviction. Ito yung masayang part. In 1995, the QCRTC convicted Marcos for failure to pay income taxes and failure to file ITRs from 1982 to 1984, and failure to pay income tax for 1985. Or during the time he was vice governor and then governor of Ilocos Norte. The trial court imposed prison time for each of the offenses, the gravest of which was 3 years for failure to pay income tax in 1985. Now, kailan ba ang filing ng income tax ng 1985? Yun yung first question. The second question is, kailan ba sila pinalayas ng Pilipinas? Guys, pinalayas sila ng Pilipinas, inilipad sila papuntang Hawaii mga February 1986. So, paano sila magpa-file kung pinalayas mo sila sa Pilipinas? Imposible. So, kung a-argue mo sa akin na may moral turpitude yung hindi niya pagpa-file, hindi niya pagbabayad ng income tax noong 1985, pinalayas mo sila. Paano maging kababuyan yun? Paano kung magpa-file? Pinalayas ka nga. Hindi mauso internet nun. Next, the Court of Appeals Special Third Division, however, modified the ruling in 1997. It acquitted Marcos of all charges of failure to pay income tax and sustained the guilt for failure to file ITRs. The CA also removed prison time for the conviction and imposed a 30,000 fine with surcharge. All right. Pilit na pilit talaga guys. Paano gagawin ko dito? Pilit na pilit. All right. So, ang sabi po mismo dito sa article ng Rappler, wala siyang tax evasion. Ang issue lang niya ay failure to file the income tax returns. So, ibig sabihin, hindi lang siya nagpasa ng papel. Tapos, wala pang prison time. Now, let's go back do sa grounds for disqualification. The first ground is if you have been, by final conviction, sentenced to imprisonment of more than 18 months. Yun yung first. The second rule, di ba, is whether you've been convicted for a crime involving moral turpitude. As clearly admitted by Rappler, walang imprisonment. So yung first, X na yon. So ang lingering question ngayon is whether yung kanyang failure to file income tax returns amounts to the commission of a crime involving moral turpitude. All right. Nakakaaliw nga, hindi pa alam mo, ang hilig-hilig ng Rappler na mag-publish ng mga buong PDF ng mga decision. Pero eto guys, tingnan mo yung ginawa nila. Screenshot lang. Wow, Rappler ha. Yung pala medyo nagre-red flag na sa akin yan. Nagre-red flag na yan. Bakit? Kasi Style ng in fairness to Rappler, among all the news agencies, Rappler ang pinakamahilig mag-upload ng 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 complete decision sa scribed, SCRIBD. Yun yung uploadan ng mga PDF. Tapos apparently ito, ang in-upload lang nila dalawa, tapos redacted pa, 2 page lang, tapos redacted pa, bawas pa. So bakit? Ano tinatago? 'Di ba? May mali. Ngayon eto na. The 57-page petition outlined history of human rights abuses against martial law, which honestly the economic slump suffered under the dictatorship, and the rampant corruption that happened under Marcos's father. Alright, sige, may issue kayo ng ano ba to? Human rights abuses, economic slump, rampant corruption, but that has nothing to do with the case at hand. The core question is, should Bongbong be disqualified? That's the question. Ha? Huwag niyong haluan ng kalamay. Now, going back to the question, should Bongbong be disqualified? There could only be 2 grounds. First, final conviction with imprisonment of more than 18 months. Second, conviction for a crime involving moral turpitude. Nilinaw na natin, guys, do sa una na part ng explanation na to, that there was no imprisonment. So the first ground, hindi na pwede. So second ground na lang, moral turpitude. Now, ano yung relevance ng human rights abuses ng matandang Marcos doon sa human rights abuses ng batang Marcos? Huwag niyo paghaluin yung issue. Alright, next. The petitioners claimed, ito yung masayang part. The petitioners claimed that aside from Marcos's conviction for failure to pay income tax returns, which amount to roughly 5,846 pesos. Guys, nakita nyo? Yung failure to pay, less than 6,000 pesos yung pera ng panahon na yon. Roughly 5,846 pesos according to court records for his government salaries as governor and vice governor from 1982 to 1984. When you're a government official, automatically withheld ang iyong taxes. So even if you don't file an income tax return, it means that the taxes are automatically remitted to the government. So, the question, yung issue ni Bongbong Marcos in as far as his taxes only involves yung hindi niya pagpasa ng papel. Pero yung sa hindi siya nagbayad siya. May withholding tax eh. Alam niyo kayo, pag yung mga yung mga employee ng mga call center halimbawa, di ba? Pag tinignan niyo yung inyong paycheck, bawas na agad yung taxes. Kasi naka-withhold na yun. Ire-remit ng kumpanya niyo sa BIR. So ang punto dito, nung si Bongbong ay governor/vice governor ng Ilocos Norte, naka-withhold na yung tax niya. Pinadala na sa gobyerno. So ang issue lang nila rito, hindi ka nagpasa ng papel. So red tape ang issue nila. Now, it gets better. Yung second part, basahin ko lang uli The petitioners claimed that aside from Marcos's conviction for failure to pay income tax returns, which amount to roughly 5,846 pesos, according to tatawa ko sa amount. According to court, ano naman ang tinapagay? Seryoso. According to court records for his government salaries as governor and vice governor from 1982 to 1984, the Marcos family also accumulated 23.293 billion pesos in estate tax. Alright, so ito yung problema. Let's assume for the sake of argument that they evaded 23.3 billion pesos in estate taxes. Was it Bongbong who was supposed to pay it or was it Imelda? Kasalanan ba ni Bongbong yon? Hindi naman siya yung siya ba yung napapatakbo nun? At saka nasan yung conviction? Hindi ko makita. Doon yung problema. Naiintindihan niyo ba, guys? Ang kalat. So, nakita niyo yung linyahan ng Rappler, nabasa nila, 5,846 pesos lang pala yung issue ni Bongbong at hindi pa hindi nagbayad. Hindi lang nag-file ng papel. Tapos, dahil nakita nila na, 6,000 lang, o sige dagdagan natin, hindi daw nagbayad yung Marcos ng 23.3 billion. Ang dinagdag na, kasalanan ba ni Bongbong yun? Ano ba yun? O so, paano yun? Kasalanan ni Ninoy, pwede nating idemanda? Pwede nating i idemanda si tawag dito. Pwede nating idemanda si Chris Aquino sa mga kasalanan ng tatay niya, ganun ba? O si Pinoy o si Bam, ay hindi pala si Bam. Si Bim, yung Pinky, yung mga kapatid ni Chris Aquino, ganun ba 'yon? No, it doesn't work that way.